In 1815, a French ex-convict re-entering society faced an immediate structural barrier. The law required them to carry a yellow passport. This document signaled to every innkeeper, employer, and local official that the bearer was a dangerous outcast. For Jean Valjean, a man who spent 19 years in prison for stealing a loaf of bread and attempting to escape, this passport meant he could not find a hot meal or a bed, let alone a job. Exhausted and starving, Valjean finally knocks on the door of the local bishop, Monsieur Myriel. Instead of turning him away, the bishop invites him in for a warm dinner and offers him a bed for the night. Valjean accepts the hospitality, but his survival instincts take over. In the middle of the night, he packs the bishop's silver plates into his knapsack and slips out the door. The police stop Valjean the next morning, find the stolen goods, and drag him back to the bishop's house. But rather than confirm the theft, the bishop covers for him. He tells the police he gave Valjean the silver as a gift, and even hands him 2 silver candlesticks, claiming Valjean forgot them. Once the police leave, the bishop tells the stunned convict that he has used the silver to buy his soul for God. Fleeing town in a daze, Valjean acts on lingering criminal habit. A passing boy drops a silver coin. Valjean covers it with his foot, refusing to give it back as the boy runs off crying. But as he watches the coin sit there in the mud, Valjean realizes what he has done. He bursts into tears for the first time in 19 years. The bishop's lie gave Valjean his physical freedom, but it tethered him to a moral expectation. To live up to it, he must now abandon the identity of a criminal and navigate a society that still tracks his every move, regardless of his reform. Years later, Valjean has successfully reinvented himself. Operating under the assumed name Monsieur Madeleine, he has built a lucrative manufacturing business and become the beloved mayor of Montreal-sur-Mer. One of his factory workers is a woman named Fantine. She is secretly sending portions of her wages out of town to pay for the care of her illegitimate daughter, Cosette. When Fantine's co-workers discover her secret, she is fired. The innkeepers watching her daughter, the Thénardiers, realize they can extort her and continually increase their fees. Desperate to keep Cosette safe, Fantine sells her hair, then her front teeth, and finally turns to sex work on the docks. The town's police inspector, Javert, patrols these same streets. Javert views the world through a lens of absolute, rigid order. You are either an honest citizen or a criminal, with no middle ground. He begins to suspect that the wealthy Mayor Madeleine is actually the parole-breaking convict Jean Valjean. Javert's suspicions seem proven wrong when the police arrest a different man, Champ Mathieu, believing him to be Valjean. Valjean now faces a truly agonizing choice. If he stays silent, he gets to keep his wealth and his position as mayor, allowing him to continue funding the town's charities. But an innocent man will go to prison in his place. Valjean travels to the trial and reveals his true identity to the court, clearing Champ Mathieu's name. He then rushes back to Montreal to help Fantine, who is suffering from a severe chest infection. Before Valjean can retrieve Cosette for her, Javert arrives to make the arrest. The shock of seeing the police grab Valjean kills Fantine in her hospital bed. Valjean tried to use his wealth and status to be righteous, but his hidden past still generated collateral damage. With Fantine dead, his priority narrows to a single objective. He breaks out of the local jail, leaves his manufacturing empire behind, and sets out to honor his promise to a dying mother. Valjean tracks down the Thénardiers, buys Cosette's freedom, and escapes into the Parisian night. With Javert hunting them, Valjean eventually smuggles himself and the young girl over the walls of the Petit Picpus convent, where they spend the next several years living safely in complete seclusion. By 1832, they have left the convent and are living quietly in a house in Saint-Germain. Cosette has grown into a young woman, and during their walks in the Luxembourg Gardens, she catches the eye of Marius, a young law student. The two begin a secret romance, communicating through hidden letters and nighttime meetings in her garden. Outside their garden walls, Paris is unraveling. A cholera epidemic is devastating the poorest districts, and political tensions reach a boiling point in June. Marius and his fellow student revolutionaries build massive barricades in the streets, preparing for a violent standoff against the French army. When Valjean intercepts a letter from Marius to Cosette, he realizes the young man is preparing to die in the impending battle. Fully aware that the army will likely slaughter the students, Valjean puts on a National Guard uniform and slips through the urban combat zones to infiltrate the barricade himself. For the past 17 years, Valjean has run to preserve his own freedom. Now he is intentionally walking into a death trap. He is risking everything to ensure that the man his daughter loves makes it out alive. The military breaches the barricades and wipes out the student rebellion. Amid the chaos, the students capture Javert, who has been spying on them. Valjean volunteers to execute him, but instead pulls Javert aside, cuts his bonds, and lets him walk free. As the army closes in, Valjean heaves an unconscious, heavily wounded Marius over his shoulder and escapes down a grate into the pitch-black Parisian sewers. This archival image shows the stone tunnels and massive cast-iron pipes of the 19th century Paris sewers. Down here, in total darkness and waist-deep filth, Valjean blindly navigates the labyrinth. He hauls Marius's dead weight for hours, avoiding police patrols above and fighting off sheer physical exhaustion. He finally reaches an exit, only to find a locked gate. Out of the shadows emerges Thénardier, who is hiding from the police. Thénardier doesn't recognize Valjean. Assuming Valjean is an assassin carrying a corpse, he offers to unlock the gate in exchange for whatever money Valjean has in his pockets. Before opening the door, Thénardier rips a piece of fabric from Marius's jacket, intending to use it later to identify the victim. Valjean emerges on the banks of the Seine and delivers Marius to his family. Javert is waiting for them, but after Valjean asks for a moment to say goodbye to Cosette, Javert walks away. His entire rigid moral code has collapsed. He cannot arrest the man who just showed him mercy, but he also cannot betray the law he swore to uphold. Trapped by this contradiction, Javert throws himself into the Seine and drowns. Valjean has survived the literal underworld of the sewers and outlasted the rigid legal authority that hunted him for decades. The police inspector is gone, and Marius is safe. Marius slowly recovers from his wounds, and he and Cosette are married. But the newfound peace comes at a high price for Valjean. Believing his hidden identity is a lingering threat to the couple's reputation, Valjean visits Marius and confesses that he is a former convict and parole breaker. Marius is horrified. He assumes that because Valjean is an ex-convict, he must have stolen his immense wealth, and he also believes Valjean executed Javert at the barricade. Without telling Cosette the reason, Marius systematically restricts Valjean's visits, pushing the old man into depression and isolation. Weeks later, Thénardier shows up at Marius's house, attempting to sell the torn piece of fabric as proof that Valjean is an assassin. But when Marius matches the scrap to his own bloody jacket from the rebellion, he suddenly understands the truth. Valjean didn't murder anyone in the sewers. He carried Marius through the darkness to save his life. Valjean dies as Cosette and Marius watch, having finally escaped the identity of a convict. His life stands as a direct counter to the rigid penal codes of 19th century France, suggesting that while the law can punish a man, only an act of mercy can actually change him.